Hello and welcome back to Tampa Real Talk with me, Gavin Frater. Look, as I look at my clock, it is 3:58 on a Thursday, which means the podcast should be going onto YouTube in 2 minutes. Only problem is I might have rewatched what I edited previously and now don't like that. So I'm now going to redo everything and hope to have it up for you as quickly as possible. So whether you're watching this at 4:15 or 4:50 or 3 weeks from now, know that I screwed up. Okay, so what are we going to address this week? Well, look, first week we looked at what your listing agent might be doing that stops you from buying a house, selling your home. Then we looked at the buyer's agent, same thing. We've looked at the pre-foreclosure world. We've spoken with a mortgage professional, and then I've shown you how to do the listing process right, what to look for in your listing agent. So now that you know all this, maybe we should take a look at the market and see what's going on. So in this episode, we're going to do the statistic part, which I really don't enjoy, but I'm going to try and tell you where the market is today compared to where it was maybe 6 months ago and a year ago to give you some kind of context. So stay tuned and watch. Okay, so I'm rejigging the way that we run the podcast. It used to just jump straight in, but I want to kind of tweak and refine as we go along. So you'll find at the end of this, the other side of the table nonsense, that's gone. We have a new entry for this. But look, I'm going to start the podcast today by giving you the bit that nobody tells you. Look, you can go online right now on TikTok or Reels or whatever way you like to consume your media. And you're going to see two things. You're going to see one group of people going, everything's fine. It's a great time to buy a home. Rates are only 6.3. If in the 80s people they'd have waited 20 years for rates to come down. No. On the other hand, you're going to get the doom and gloom merchants who are there for clickbait, who aren't there to educate you, they're there to make themselves rich off your clicks. Look, my whole point of doing this as a podcast is to give you what you need to know rather than what you want to hear. So sit back, relax, and I'm going to show you what you need to know about the Tampa area market right now. Okay, guys, my name is Gavin Frater, for those of you who don't know, and I've been a licensed real estate agent for over 14 years. Look, I started in New Jersey not long after the market crashed, and so I came up in real estate the hard way, learning how to do deals the hard way. I moved on to Virginia before finally coming here. For the last 3 years, I've been a Tampa area realtor. And what I want to do is to take the sheen off of the real estate industry and give you the nitty-gritty truth that you need to hear, not that you want to hear, as I said in the last segment. So today, as I mentioned, we're going to talk about the statistics. We're going to talk about inventory. We're talking about prices. We're going to talk about days on market, all that really dull stuff that you glaze over when I talk to you about it in a listing or a buyer consultation. So sit back. If you're finding it hard to sleep, put this on late at night. I guarantee you'll doze off, but don't miss the important stuff towards the end. Okay, guys, so you're still with me. You either haven't fallen asleep yet, but you soon will do. So let's hit the statistics straight up. Right now, average sale price in the greater Tampa area is $425,000. And look, yes, that is down from 6 months ago when it was 440, and even down from this time last year was $430,000. So it might not look great, but there are definitely signs of improvement on the way. If you look at the number of active listings we have, the reason that prices have come down is because we've had so many active listings. Right now, we're just over 5,800. 6 months ago, we were nearly 6,500. So we've shifted a lot of inventory over the last 6 months. Obviously, new homes come on the market all the time, but we've managed to bring that inventory down to a healthier number. So what that means is that homes don't sit quite as long as they used to. And if you look at this from this time last year, we were right around the 5,800 mark. So we're about the same as we were last year, give or take 30 or 40 homes. So what does that mean for you if you're looking to sell a home? Well, right now in the greater Tampa area, you can expect your home to sell in about 60 days, 62 to be precise. Now, how does that compare previously? Well, 6 months ago when we had a lot of inventory, that number was nearly 2 weeks longer at 74 days. But this time last year, it was definitely a week shorter. It was only 55. So yeah, look, you put your house on the market today being April 30th, then you can expect to be under contract, hopefully, if you've marketed right, by 4th of July. Not bad, eh? Okay, look, It's a pain in the ass doing statistics. I hate it. But what I really want to address is what the statistics mean. So, yeah, $425,000 is the average price. We got 5,800 listings. Great, fantastic. But look, it doesn't mean shit to you that if you're watching this because you want to know how it impacts you in your area of Tampa. You don't care that we have a 6.3 mortgage rate. It's high, it is, but it's down from 6.7 a year ago and 6.5 6 months ago. So there are signs of improvement. And with a new Fed chairman coming in, what, end of May, whose mandate it is to bring down the cost of lending, both regular money and mortgage money, we should be able to see a change in the industry and in the marketplace over the coming months. So what do you need to know? What can I tell you in plain English, no bullshit, what's happening? Well, if you've seen TikTok or Reels and you've seen that the market is crashing and all of the indicators that were there pre-2008 are there now, they're not. Look, the one thing I'll tell you is the amount of equity homeowners have in the United States means that it would be very difficult for a 2008 style crash to happen. But while it's not crashing, it's not booming either. You can no longer list your home on Friday, sell it on Monday, feel smug by Tuesday. Look, compared to 12 months ago, we're basically flat to a little bit softer, depending on which metric you're using. Someone like Redfin likes to use the median sale price, and they have it as 390. Whilst when we look at the actual median sale price, it's gone from 429.9 to 425. But so there has been some softening in the market. But I do know from the conversations I have daily with homeowners that people are just holding off for rates to improve before they put their home back on. Look, 6 months ago, the market looked a little tighter. Active listings have gone down from 6,400 to where they are today at 5,800. And days of market have improved. But look, affordability is the biggest drag right now. And right now, if you're looking in on a mortgage, you're looking at an average of about 6.3%, which historically over the last 5 6 years is high, but in the bigger picture, like beyond the last 5 6 years, it's not too bad. The typical mortgage rate was normally between 4 and 5.5%. So don't worry too much. Again, I've said this in previous podcasts. I'll say this until the day I die. Understand what you want to spend on your payment and make sure you can afford what you want to spend. It may be that you don't buy the $700,000 home this year. You wait a couple of years and buy it with the proceeds of your $500,000 home set. But as I said, look, right now, there's a lot of information to take in. Prices are holding, they're not exploding. They've changed very little over the last year. Inventory is come down from 6 months ago, but properly priced homes are still moving. I saw one home that I was interested in for myself, and before I could arrange to go see it, it was gone. So 4 days, and it was a beautiful. I'm feeling some FOMO because we missed out on this one. But again, days on market are gonna impact you. You're gonna not if you're not pricing it right, if you're not staging it right, if it's not pleasing to the eye, if there's a load of reasons why your home's gonna sit, and we covered those both in week 5 and back in week 1. Are rates still the villain? Yeah, probably. 6.3% is still a tough rate to eat compared to where it was 4 years ago in the threes. But as I said, if you understand budgeting and you know what you're prepared to spend to buy a home, then spend it. I would much rather see somebody in a home with $500,000 that knows they're going to step up in a few years than to continue to pay $3,500 in rent. So as I look at the market right now, what am I seeing? Well, as I said, the sky is not falling, the market is not crashing. That's clickbait. But at the other end of the scale, look, let me correct myself before I open my big mouth. I'm not going to say there are not bargains to be had, because there's always a bargain to be had. You never know what somebody's situation is. But you are not walking into $1 million house and offering them $500,000 and I'm thanking you and giving you the home. It's not happening. Yes, you can negotiate. You can ask for things to be fixed, or you can ask for credits. You can ask for a reduced price. You can ask them to cover closing costs. There is a lot more negotiation happening in the market right now. Look, supply is right around 5 months, which is almost getting us into buyer market territory. That 4 to 6 month period is what we class as a neutral. Once you get over 6 months into 7, 8, 9 months worth of inventory, you're definitely looking at a buyer having the control because there's so much for them to be able to look at, so many houses that they could buy. So if I was to give advice out right now, what would it be? Sellers, price to the market that exists today, not the dream price you want to achieve. And understand that if you can't afford to sell, it may be better just to sit where you are for another year. Watch rates come down and maybe keep an eye on the market and sell when it benefits you to do that. Look, it's not it's not a world where you can create a fantasy point and hope somebody gets it, because nobody's going to buy it. It would have to be somebody who was certifiable, out of state person, comes in on a 2 day trip, just got a brand new job, needs a house, saw yours, and thought, bollocks, I'm not going to look for anything else. I'm buying that one. And honestly, that doesn't happen very often, if at all. So pricing the house right and making sure that it is in the right state to show is the advice I would give to you as sellers. Buyers, look, for the first time in quite a while, you've got leverage. But as again, it's not enough to be ridiculous. If a house is priced right, sometimes you're just going to have to make that offer at the price. We're in a balanced market, so you're not going to be able to lowball people. So strongly marketed homes are still going to attract strong offers. You just have to work with your agent to find out, is this house priced reasonably? And if your agent can't tell you that it is or it isn't, guys, you need a new agent. That goes for you sellers as well. If your seller can't justify the comps to justify the price, find somebody else. Look, the bottom line is that the market is balanced right now. Slight seller advantage for clean, well-priced homes, and a buyer advantage for those that have sat for a while and have been overpriced. Look, the market has matured. We're definitely settling into a new kind of price band that a lot of original Floridians are kind of angry at, because 6 years ago I could have bought this $400,000 house for $7 and a bag of grapes type of people. But look, so the nonsense hasn't changed. But people are not going to stop moving to Florida. It's just not happening, and the builders are not going to stop building. So let's take a look at what the best performing area is right now in the greater Tampa area. And on the downside, let's take a look at what the west side is. So right now, if you live in South Tampa, look at you. Look, the Terracea area has probably the hottest market right now. And it's not just because homes are selling really quickly. If you think back to what I said earlier, the average sale in the greater Tampa area is taking about 62 days. Well, in South Tampa, it's more like 19. And I told you that the average sale price in Tampa is about 425,000 in the greater Tampa area. In that Terracea kind of location, it's closer to 1,300,000. So why are people moving there and being so aggressive to get into that market? Well, scarcity for one. You don't get a lot of homes that come on the market for a start. If you're looking for a fixer in Terracea or in that area, you're not going to find one for much less than $750,000. If you're looking for a move-in ready, you're probably closer to 1,200,000. And why is that? Well, they have proximity both downtown and waterfront. Like, those are huge factors when it comes to people wanting a lifestyle. But also they have amazing school district. You got the high school and the elementary school and the middle school. They're all fantastic A-rated education systems. And whilst I can't comment to individuals about a school's education system because I'm not allowed to steer or drive, I will tell you that that is an excellent education system, and it really does help for a family wanting to move in there to know that they have an A-rated school system that they can move into on day one. Excuse me. So yeah, if you're looking at if you've got that kind of money to spend and you're looking for that kind of lifestyle, South Tampa, the Terracea area, is on fire right now. Okay, we've shown you what fire means. Let's take a look at the ice. And look, this is through no fault of its own. But right now, New Tampa is struggling. It has a lot of inventory, and a lot of that inventory has been sitting for 3, 4, 5 months. And it's not necessarily the fault of the owners or the agents. Look, I personally have a home there that, okay, we were technically off market for 30 days while we were under contract, but the contract fell through. So we're right around 100 days right now. And for me, that's quite a high number. But when you look at what's going on around New Tampa, it kind of answers a question that you don't really know to ask. If you're looking to sell your home, you want to be up against competition that is directly like your home. So if you're in Live Oak, you want to be selling up against other Live Oak properties. If you're in Pebble Beach area, or if you're wherever you are, you want to know that you have a fair fight. The problem is that there are a lot of construction companies building properties and building developments that kind of almost make homeowners looking to sell their resale home kind of it's like fighting Mike Tyson with your hands tied behind your back. Well, homeowners can't afford to pay your closing costs. It's a huge amount of money. They can't afford to give you upgrades based on what you want, and they sure as hell can't afford to pay down your mortgage rate. Okay. Now, this isn't terrace. This isn't in New Tampa. This one is specific to the parish area. There is a builder in parish right now offering 1.9% for the first 2 years of your mortgage. That's a huge buy down. They're also covering your closing costs. If you want to move to parish, give me a yeah. But seriously, when you look at the resale market in the New Tampa area, the reason it's stagnating as much as it is because the competition from new builds is so fierce. It is ridiculously fierce. And you don't want to be in a situation where you purchased in New Tampa 4 or 5 years ago and you're having to either barely scrape even and walk away with no debt, but not make a profit, or even go into the red to get out. So each area has its challenges, each area has its pluses. But there is your fire and ice right there. Terracea right now is absolute fire. Unfortunately for New Tampa, it's a little bit more cold, a little bit chillier. It's a bit more of an icy market. Okay, guys, so at the beginning of the podcast, I told you how we had restructured how it was going to be. We started off with the bit that nobody tells you, letting you know what we wanted you to know from the off before we got into the meat of the episode. And so we would finish off usually with what we called the from the other side of the table moment. And for me, that was my way of letting you know what you should know, but don't because you're not in the industry. And so given that I'm a little bit sweary, a little bit inappropriate, and very much British, I wanted to kind of rename and rebrand it. So here goes. This is now going to be called the no bollocks moment, which is just my way of giving you the unadulterated truth without any fluff or filler. And look, if you don't know what bollocks is, it's one of those beautiful, beautiful interchangeable words that can be used in so many different circumstances. And I'll give you a couple of examples. If I don't believe you, you're talking bollocks. If something is amazing, oh my God, it's the dog's bollocks. And if you're in trouble, you're about to get a bollocking. So as you can see, it's such a beautiful interchangeable word. But for this instance, I just wanted to mean the pure unadulterated truth. And similar to the way we started, I want the no bollocks moment this week to be the sky is not falling on the Tampa housing market. Don't know how many times I can tell people that. Stop watching TikTok, stop watching Reels, and talk to real estate professionals. Look, a real estate agent's always going to tell you that now is the best time to buy. And reality, what that means is if you can afford to buy a home, now is the best time to buy. You can start building equity from day one. Yeah, look, equity builds slowly at first, but you can start building equity. What I want you to know is that we are not going to see a 2008 kind of housing crash. It's just not possible. According to economists, I'm not an economist, I'm a licensed real estate agent, but it's not. There is too much equity held by too many people. And for those of people who don't have a huge amount of equity, their rates are so low. Guys, if you bought a house in 2021, 2022, you're probably around a 3% interest rate. The last thing you want to do is sell your $400,000 home to pick up a $600,000 home with a 6.5% rate. So look, the house market is not crashing. Not now, not in the near future, maybe not ever. So understand what your spending power is and act accordingly. Budget, work out what you can afford to pay for your mortgage, your taxes, your insurance, and your bills, and find a home that fits into that budget. Don't make the mistake of finding out you have $700,000 to spend to end up on ramen noodles and ice cube sandwiches. Okay, so that's all we have time for this week. Hopefully, having to re-record it at 4 o'clock instead of posting it at 4 o'clock. It's now 4:20, so I know this is a much shorter episode than it would have been normally. But look, next week we're going to do something a little bit different. I'm going to try and bring in a couple of different agents from around the Tampa area. And the one question that I want to ask them, and that I'm asking you, is what neighborhood in the Tampa area is so what's the word I'm looking for? Publicized that it's almost criminal. Do you know a development or a town that is so amazing but maybe gets a bad rap? For me, like, I'm not afraid to say it, I live in Pavilion. I am on the north side of Riverview, right on the border with Tampa and Brandon. And for me, I have everything that I want. Look, it's small enough to be cozy when we know everyone knows seems to know everybody. It's big enough that not everybody is in your business. We have a community pool and a gym and a clubhouse, and look, we got everything we need, but it's so friendly. Everyone seems to be so welcoming. So if you know of a development or a section of a town, or even look, if you love living in Plant City and you know where you want to be in Plant City and you want to tell me about it, feel free, put it in the comments. We'll talk about it with some other realtors next week. I want to get other people's input on some of these areas because I don't know every single development in the greater Tampa area, but I'm definitely wanting to learn. And look, I guarantee if you're looking to buy a house in 2026, you want to know those hidden gems just as much as the sellers who are in those hidden gems want you to know about them. So look, guys, I will see you all, or you will see me. I don't get to see you. It's a one-way thing, this thing is. But we will be back next week with a new podcast. As I said, 4 o'clock. We'll have this one recorded and done properly this time. But we'll be back next week at 4 o'clock on Thursday. Until then, take care and we'll see you all then.